Jake Sisko has to have some Idanian pudding. Sub-Commander Tarul doesn't want friends, but Michael Eddington does. And the Siskos finally are starting to consider this Cardassian monstrosity to be home. Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Seventh Rule with Cirroc Lofton.
Hello, hello.
Right? It's starting to be home. Deep Space Nine. My name is... Sorry, I forgot to say, my name is Ryan T. Husk, and we are reviewing Season 3, Episode 1 of Deep Space Nine, called The Search, Part 1, directed by Kim Friedman, the legendary trailblazing female director, Kim Friedman. And now, without further ado, so sorry, this Cardassian monstrosity is home. How cool is that?
It is cool, and I think that it's funny how Jake got right into it as far as he precisely pinpointed the moment when we started to consider this home. Yeah. And he even has the time. He said 1,700 hours. I think it happened last Thursday, 1,700 hours.
Which sounded like a smart-ass response at first, but it turned out to be actually true. It wasn't just like, oh, right about 5:15 yesterday. He's like, no, that's really it. That's honestly when it was.
Right. And he gives a good explanation for it. You know, you're packing your stuff from storage. I liked how he was like, yeah, Dad, the most, antique African art collection ever. Yeah, I've heard that story 1,000 times, Dad. But I liked it. I thought it was a good moment in which we get to see the Siskos kind of like settling in and accepting this place as home. Mm-hmm. The other thing I'm getting a big feeling for now in this third season is the dominance of Sisko's presence and character. He's really starting to come out now.
It's coming now.
Yeah, he's firing on all cylinders. He's taking ownership of the station. He's really asserting himself in this beginning of this third season and towards the end of the second season. And we started to see Sisko really become like the commander/captain, which is he's going to eventually be known as, right? And I liked this episode for those reasons. Once again, getting a lot of the play on character relationships and building the dynamics of the interrelationships between the main characters. We saw a lot of Quark and Odo and Kira.
Odo lost it, man. Boy, the shit's starting to hit the fanny at this point. Because Odo was not ready for Quark. He was not feeling it, man. He did not even want to hear a word from him.
Yeah. I don't want any of your mindless blithering. I think something to that effect.
It was like prattle or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, boy, oh boy. I think that was one of the... Oh, anyway.
Oh, that's the scene where he comes in and he's roommates with Quark, right?
Yeah.
And I think he goes, he's like, I've been in this solid state for 16 hours.
Right.
Can't wait to liquefy, buddy. So just leave me the hell alone.
And
he really has a big...
Quark's like, are you coming on to me? He's like, I gotta liquefy. Like, whoa, dude, don't look at me.
Let me give you some privacy, man.
And he said, I don't want you gawking at me.
Yeah, like, turn away. Odo's patience are really short in this episode, and he's getting his moment of in the sun too, as well. As far as we see him kind of acting out of character in this episode, and he's being drawn by this desire to visit this place, which we're going to find out is his homeland, right? Mm-hmm. And people like him. So I think that they've been building this up really well, all the way back to when Koch was doing business with the Jem'Hadars.
That alien
with the Tulaberry wine episode, right?
Yeah, what were they called? Like Kamarians or Kamarians or something like that. The Karema and the Tulaberry wine. Yeah.
Right. So, and that was, I don't know how many episodes ago, but they dropped that nugget so far back. And here now we're picking right back up on it. Um, and I like the continuation of it. I also like the way that these episodes are rolling into each other one by one. So they ended with the cliffhanger on the last season, and now we're picking up right where we left off. So we're getting the continuous storylines starting to really pick up a lot,
Mm-hmm.
as opposed to these standalone episodes. And they're bringing back little gems that they dropped in, from before. So I like the way the writing is
Right.
piecing together at this point.
Right. Also, before we get too much into the meat of the story, there are a few things to start off with. In that first minute or two, we have 3 new characters introduced. We have the new security officer, Michael Eddington.
Yep.
We have Sub-Commander Tarul, I think was her name. And we have the Defiant, just kind of like a new character, you know what I mean?
Right.
But all 3 of those things were introduced in the first minute or two of the 3rd season, to where they go, okay, this isn't your grandfather's 2nd season, buddy. This is playing for real. But then, yeah, actually the female changeling too at the end was introduced as well. Salome Jens, I believe is her name. Yeah,
Taru, I think, is the Romulan.
Correct. Yeah, Tarul. Sub-Commander Tarul.
Yeah, good appearance by her in this episode. You know, she comes along for the cloaking device, right? Like wherever that cloaking device goes, I go. We also got kind of a letdown for Odo, as far as, conversations happening behind his back that he wasn't privy to. And, that was offensive to him.
He did not take that well either. He's got a little too much dignity to have that kind of crap done to him,
Yeah, I understand what's going on, Commander. He made a great line that I think was really good. It just summed up his feelings for this episode. What did he say? Commander, I don't require your understanding.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not looking for your validation. I don't need
Basically, he told him where to put that understanding.
Yeah, put your little pity party. I'm not here for it. I'm not interested. I like that.
Now, the other thing that I wanted to mention is I feel as though we may have gotten a record number of NAMs in this episode. We had, by my count, 4.
Tell me about him.
Quark did 2 in one line. He said, Rom only has a son to worry about. That's Rom and Nog. Rom only has a son to worry about. I have a business. When he was saying that's all. I've got a whole business to worry about.
Yeah.
So there are 2 there. And then right after that, Sisko says, and this was one that we should have been paying attention to more, a little bit more at the beginning, was he says he spoke with the Grand Negus. And I realized we should be keeping track of the Grand Negus NAMs too, because he gets mentioned sometimes. And
he does.
Another one, but I was like, there's no way we can keep track of this one. You know who probably gets the most NAMs of anybody in Deep Space Nine? Curzon. Because Dax is always saying, oh, Curzon would always say this. And Sisko's always like, oh, well, remember when Curzon... I'm like, dude, if we start trying to keep track of the amount of times that Curzon gets named, because we do see him in one episode, like 3rd or 4th episode. But like, if we try to record all those now, he's going to have like 50.
Yeah. He will lead the league, because he's almost... Every time Dax is mentioned, something about Curzon comes up.
Oh,
usually.
But even that wasn't. So I didn't really count that one, because I'm like, I don't know if we can really do that every time. But there was a 5th one, which was Jennifer Sisko, who who was it? Who was telling Benjamin Sisko that they hadn't seen him that excited about him, or I didn't think you'd be as passionate about anything since
that was Kira's character.
Yeah.
Kira mentioned that when he was saying that if the station falls, then Bajor falls, and I will not let that happen. It was during that monologue.
Yeah, I thought I put it in my notes, but yeah, you're right. She definitely says, look, I didn't think that you'd be this passionate about something after, Jennifer died. And so that's another one. Jennifer gets the NAM. So that's like, a record 4, even if we're not counting Curzon.
Yeah, and I enjoyed the scene with Odo and Sisko when Sisko's convincing. Quark and Sisko, when Sisko is trying to convince Quark that you need to come along with me on the Defiant. And I think Quark says something, says, there's no way you can legally force me. And I thought that was...
I know my rights.
I know my rights. You can't legally force me. And I was like, oh, that's a little clever little throw in there. And then, of course, Sisko has the trump card, because he's got the Grand Nega's staff and he's spoken with him. And obviously the Ferengi can't disobey the Grand Negas. So I thought that was a good little scene before getting into the seriousness of what was about to come. And the other thing I really enjoyed was when Sisko says, aren't you forgetting something? Right before Quark is about to leave. And Quark...
That was so funny.
Oh, yeah. When he has to kiss the staff, I thought that was just like... It was classic. It was a classic moment.
Yeah, I think that was one of the trivioids. I was like, I can't use that one. I was going to say Sisko makes Quark kiss his knob or some kiss his staff. I was like, I can't. I'm like, it's funny, but I can't just sit there with a straight face and be like, Sisko makes.
No, you
Quark
just
kisses.
did. You brought it up anyways. It's still entered.
Still lingering.
It's still lingering now that you mentioned it. But yes, he does make him kiss the staff. And the funny thing is, the kiss that Quark gives, it's like this really reluctant, he walks up to it, and it's just a funny way to kiss the staff, I just thought that was a great scene between the two of them. And this episode had so many different things. I mean, it was moving at such a quick pace, right? I mean, they got the Defiant. The Defiant was cloaked. It was right up against the ship, 300 meters inside the defense. It was one by one. It was just like, okay, here, boom, 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 boom. You had Dax and O'Brien basically left for dead for the Jem'Hadar to catch. Sisko faced with that decision of whether he should stay or go. And Bashir's like, Commander. He can't.
Very good. Yeah, that was. That sounded like an Odo. That sounded like an Odo Bashir hybrid you did right there. Odo to Bashir.
Yeah, it was a little bit something. Yeah, but I just liked the way the pace of it was, and you had all these moments of conversation, but it still moved at a really quick pace. There were so many things happening. Obviously, the Defiant coming in just changes the game for DS9 basically from now going forward, and makes them a legitimate contender as far as being able to defend themselves. So this is a crucial piece for them. It's also allows them the ability to explore and go outside of the station more. I think this is a big storyline opening up fork in the road for DS9. This is where it really begins to blossom. And you can see that playing out with all the aliens, and now how serious that we have the Vorta and all of these other aliens kind of getting introduced to us at such a rapid rate, including the Founders. So I think that they've left us wanting so much more now after this first episode in the third season.
Yeah. Another thing I noticed kind of along that line was that we got a lot of pairings. You've got O'Brien and Dax off over here. You've got Odo and Kira going off on their mission. I mean, it's really cool. It's like everybody's going everywhere and all these things are happening. I guess Michael Eddington is the only one staying behind. right? I mean, good thing they introduced him, because they took everybody off the station. So they're probably like, we need somebody to stay behind. Otherwise, who's running the station? Who do we have? It just Bjorn McGee, is running.
Yeah.
One thing I did notice too, jumping ahead a little bit, but this was the first time that Kira was a little softer towards Sisko. Like, remember in the first season when she first came out, she was guns blazing. She was like, "Who are you? I suppose you want the room back, the office back." And she was just like a bat out of hell. Second season, maybe a little less. This first episode of the third season was the first time I saw Kira being not softer in general, but softer specifically with Sisko, as if she was talking to a friend, not as talking to a superior, and not talking to an enemy, how she kind of talked to him at first. But even when she was upset, like when she said, I think the line was, "What's wrong with Starfleet? How could they do this to Odo?" When she said that to Sisko, that's when it really jumped out at me, because that was the first time. Normally Kira would say like, "What's wrong with Starfleet? How could they do this to Odo?" Like accusatory and angry. But instead it was more like she was venting to a friend. She's like, "What's wrong with Starfleet? How can they do?" She was more like confiding in a friend, like, "What's going on?" And that was the first time I've seen, maybe it happened before, but that was the first time I noticed a change in the dynamic, where she's not yelling and accusing him, but she's confiding in him and venting to a friend, is what it seemed like to me.
Yeah, and just I noticed the same thing, and now that you're voicing it out, it's clicking for me in a different way. And one of the things that I saw was, normally it would have been, "What's wrong with you?" As if he
right.
he was the problem, right?
Right.
He was the one ordering this to happen, and he's the one that was allowing this to happen. So what's wrong? And instead, she took the blame and laid it to Starfleet, and basically said, "What's wrong with them?" Knowing that, excluding him out of now the blame and the responsibility of having to follow orders. So I thought that was a very interesting thing. And the other moment that I would add to what you're saying about the softening up of Kira's character is, I thought she showed the same kind of nice vulnerability when she approached Odo and said,
Right.
"I'm Bajor has requested your presence."
Yes.
And Odo catches her completely lying to him, and he's like, "Yeah, right. I don't believe that. I don't believe they would ask for me." And pulls her card, and she softens up and opens up, and she says, "Yeah, maybe I'm your friend. Maybe I'm just trying to help you like you helped me. Maybe."
And personally, I love that Kira. I like characters that are much more, multidimensional. And, at first she came out guns blazing, which was cool. It was awesome. It was different. It was fun. But I like the Kira that's more layered, that can turn on that fireball up to 10 when she needs to, but that she still confides in the people that have now at this point earned her respect and earned her friendship, to where she doesn't need to be like that with everybody. She can show somebody that she cares about them without feeling vulnerable or whatever, and beyond just, professional respect, but more on a personal level. And I really like that about Kira, as part of her evolution.
Yeah, and let me add to that. I loved Nana Visitor's portrayal of Kira on this show from beginning till now. And as much as I would advocate for my own appearance on a new Star Trek show, because I would love to be involved with a new Star Trek show, I feel like she is earned her entitlement to be featured again in some capacity on Star Trek. And I feel
That's
like
a great point. How cool would that be if they do pass by like Deep Space Nine and she's there?
I would love that.
Yeah.
I would love that. I think she's earned the respect of everybody. She really is a trailblazer as far as being a strong female character in the show.
Right. And Dax was a trailblazer.
Okay. Yes.
I tried to stop myself.
Yeah, so you couldn't help it. But I think she is deserving of finding herself on a new show as on a guest appearance and
Totally.
reprising her character. I think she has earned it, and she has been a phenomenal character. Her acting is just amazing, and I do like the way that she's able to balance being a tough badass and also being soft and sensual, or you know,
right,
not as dominant and more.
Plus, she's such a wonderful
caring.
human on a personal level. Like, the actress herself is such a great person that it's another one of those people that you root for, that you hope, that if she wants the job, we hope that she gets offered it.
Yeah, I think she has sold the Kira character for me. I like even in the beginning of this episode, she goes into plan of action mode when they're talking about the Jemadar coming. And she instantly says, yeah, we can set booby traps, we can hide in the conduits. And she goes right into survival mode of basically where she came out of, right? This being a mercenary, a soldier for her cause, a freedom fighter. So she goes right into the tactics of the freedom fighter. Like, all right, this is what we have to do. We're gonna rig things to blow up. We're gonna set booby traps. We're gonna hide. We're gonna, and I like that. She clicks right into that when the moment comes. She's not afraid to fight.
Mm.
And then also when the softer side comes out of her, when she's like cares about her friend and wants to know how Odo is doing and is concerned about it. So I think there's a lot of, she plays the full spectrum as far as I'm concerned, and she does a fantastic job as Major Kira Nerys.
Yes, sir. So we're going to take our break in just a couple minutes, but before we do, we wanted to kind of just point something out, not to be missed, is that our friend Mr. Aron Eisenberg passed away a little over 7 months ago. It was the day before we were to shoot the first episode of season 2. And, we obviously went on a little hiatus, and then we carried on without him for episode 1 of season 2. And we are now on episode 1 of season 3, meaning we have now officially done an entire season without Aron. And it just kind of made me, kind of reflect a bit on, kind of how far we've gone and what we've done, that we just did an entire season. And, there's not a day that goes by that I don't wish he could see us. You know what I mean? Like, he would laugh at us, at our jokes, or he would laugh at us more than anything.
That too.
And I hope and I think and believe that he would be very happy with everything, that not just that we're doing, but that the supporters and our fans are doing. Everybody's been so positive and having so much fun, and everybody's really being really cool with one another, So I just wanted to kind of reflect on that a little bit. Can you believe it's been a full season officially, 26 episodes?
Yeah, and not a day goes by that we don't miss our friend. And, we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for him. So he is the kind of the glue that brought us all together. And we can never thank him enough for, creating this opportunity for us to be reviewing the show and being in contact with the fans, continuing the legacy that he wanted to have created. So I'm thankful for what Aron has done for me and for this show. And I was sad because we were, I was looking so much forward to finishing this review of DS9 with him and kind of taking the journey with him and seeing how our relationship kind of grew and became what it is today. And there's so many flashbacks and memories every time they would have a scene together in that first season. It reminded me of the beginnings of where everything started for us. And as now we continue to go, we see how far Nog's character grows along with us. And we just really appreciate what Aron has done for us. We keep him in the back of our minds and in the front of our minds as much as we can. And now, yes, we have done one full season. And one of the heartbreaking tragedies of losing Aron right before the second season, first episode, was, I was so, just like you, looking forward to getting into the meat of the second episode and starting this thing with him again. And we didn't get that chance. So now that we've gotten 1 year in, it's I really thank Aron for pushing this idea and making it happen.
Yeah, he's missing the better episodes. He had to sit through the crappy ones.
Yeah,
he was a real trooper to sit through the crappy ones with us. But now, he sat through all of Discovery with us, which was great. We talked about the Orville a little bit. We went through the entire first season. Now we've done an entire second season without him, and looking forward to many more fun and awesome seasons. So we'll talk about it a little bit more at our free-for-all later on at the end of this episode. But we better hit our break real quick, and then we'll come back with the trivioids, the rejected trivioids. But always put a thought out to Aron Eisenberg, friends. Anytime you watch this show, always remember that Aron's the guy that made this happen, and he was the glue. So we'll be right back with the seventh rule.